Well, how are you doing? Okay, I'm going to be covering this upward moving Earth topic, not because I want to, because I intended on not doing it, only because um, it's getting out of hand. So I feel I should do it. I have to. There's too many people believing this nonsense. So I've already given privately the reasons why this is nonsense, right? Several months ago at this stage. But publicly, I've mentioned a few things on Nathan's and I think maybe QE Live, but I don't know if people are really catching on. There's certain reasons why, if the Earth is moving up, whether it be one group of people claim a constant velocity and another group of people claim it's a constant acceleration. Either way, I'll go through both of those claims. But either way, there's certain implications to these things. And we would have to observe and experience these implications in reality, right? So, regardless of whatever effects that are being induced, because they're induced effects that these people are seeing with bottles and different mediums and bottles and dropping the bottles and different things like that, regardless of whatever effects are being seen and induced, right, that we don't observe in the natural world, and people trying to find the cause of these effects. Fair enough, you want to find the cause of why this is happening, grand. But to jump straight to the Earth is rising up is a crazy leap, right? It's totally illogical, and there's not enough thought have to be put into it as to how this would play out and the implications of it, right? There's also a big misunderstanding about density differentials, and density gradients, and the ones we have in um, in the real world, right? But I'm not going to go into any of that. I just want to focus purely on the implications, because until we focus on the implications of these claims and how ridiculous they make these claims, we can never get to, if these people ever want to get to, the real reason why they're seeing the effects they're seeing. And I've already detailed why they're seeing these effects. Um, but I don't even think it's really important to even detail it now, right? What's important is go through the implications of what they're claiming, how that would play out in reality. So that's what I'm going to try to stick with in this video, because that's all that matters. If you're claiming this, then this is the implication of it in reality. This is what we do observe in reality. Is what you're claiming, does that match what we observe? And if it doesn't, then it's wrong. It's that simple, right? It's demonstratable, right? Let's just say, right? So there is two claims, as I said a while ago. One is that the Earth is moving up at a constant velocity, which means it has a constant rate of motion upwards. The other one is that it is moving up at a constant acceleration. Now, acceleration and deceleration are, right, both changes in the rate of velocity over time, right? Acceleration is normally described as a speeding up. Deceleration is described as slowing down. But they're both acceleration, if you want to see it. They're both a change in rate, rather, they're both the acceleration and deceleration are a change in rate of velocity over time. Both of them are, right? So they're in the same bracket, but they're in two opposing, let's just say, I don't know if vector is the right word, but let's call it vectors, right? Now, when it comes to the Earth moving up at a constant velocity, I've already spoken on Nathan's with the main proponent of this. I'm not going to name any names in this, it doesn't matter to me. And that person admitted that the fact that the Earth is being claimed to move up at a constant velocity nullifies all density differential effects and nullifies weight, obviously, because you can't have weight without density effects. Density over volume equals weight. The density of matter within the volume determines its weight, right? For a liquid or a solid. A bit different with gases, right? But when it comes to liquids and solids, density over volume equals weight, right? So that means there is no density, like admittedly, by this person, there is no density differential effects and there is no weight. Now, even though part of this whole claim is that there needs to be an upward moving Earth for a density gradient to be created. Now, obviously, that's not correct. I've already shown that in a video in the past. I've done a whole presentation on it. I'll leave it in the description here. What creates our gas density gradient, right? It's created by the sun. But if people want to believe that that creates a density gradient, then how can density differentials be thrown out, but a claim of a density gradient be accepted? You can't throw it out and then keep it. You know, you can't push it away and deny it, but also need it for your claim. It doesn't work, right? That doesn't work. So when I asked, right, when it was admitted that there is no density differential effects and there is no weight within the paradigm of an Earth moving up at a constant velocity, I said, then why does a helium balloon go up? Or I asked, does a helium balloon go up because the air on it that is being pushed up by the upward moving Earth, does that cause the helium balloon to go up, right? So here in purple we have the helium, right? This is a helium balloon. Here we have an air-filled balloon over here, and this is a stone. They're all of equal volume, right? Now, obviously, in the real world, they're of different densities, right? But they're all of equal volume. Now, in the helium balloon here, we have air pushing up underneath it, right? And because air pushes up underneath it, it's claimed that that's the reason why the helium balloon goes up. Sorry, this won't go up for me. But it's claimed that that's the reason why the helium balloon will go up. So when you leave go of a helium balloon, it'll go up, right? Now, within this paradigm, as I said, it's been admitted that by this person who's claiming a constant upward velocity of the Earth, that there is no weight. So if that will happen with a helium balloon, then if I leave go of an air-filled balloon, then the same thing should happen. The air-filled balloon, when I leave go of a helium balloon and an air-filled balloon simultaneously, they should both go up. But that doesn't happen. The air-filled balloon has a greater density and it goes down. It goes down slow, but it goes down. Whereas the helium balloon goes up. So if the claim concerning a helium balloon was correct and the air being pushed up by an upward moving Earth at a constant velocity was causing the helium balloon to go up, then the same would have to happen with the air-filled balloon, because weight does not exist, remember. There is no density differential effects and there is no weight. Anything down is only an apparent down. So down does not exist. Nothing is actually falling. It only appears to be falling. It's apparent. And this is exactly what Einstein was trying to say as well when he first started it, that something that appears to be going down is not really going down. It's the Earth, right? The Earth is coming up to meet it, right? Right? That's what Einstein was claiming. The Earth is coming up to meet it with his equivalence principle. Now it's a bit more tricky with Einstein because he had to try and eventually make it match a globe, which really got convoluted. But the point is that was the claim. So it's, from your point of view, your phone is falling, but what's really happening is the Earth is coming up to meet it because the Earth is moving up upwards, whether it be at a constant velocity or at a constant acceleration. It's still rising up, right? Fair enough. But as I said, if that was the case, and the reason for a helium balloon going up is because the air is pushing the helium balloon up because it's being pushed up by an upward moving Earth, right? Then why is an air-filled balloon not going up? Why does that go down? That can't go down if the helium balloon is going up, can it? They can't if there's no weight. Weight doesn't exist, so there's no reason for the air-filled balloon to go down, right? So that is instantly a problem because it doesn't. You can't have that. So I asked the second question, right? Now I didn't get an answer to that first question because what the answer I got was density, but density differentials don't exist within that paradigm. The person had just admitted to me. So then they contradicted themselves by trying to claim density, because you can't deny something and then claim it. You can't deny something as part of your paradigm and then claim it to try and prove something within your paradigm. You can't do that. So that was a contradiction that wasn't addressed. So I moved on to the my second question, which was, if I have a helium-filled balloon, right, and a stone, right, and I leave both of them go at the same time, then how come the stone goes down faster? And the answer to that was the stone is decelerating. So let's just say, right, now this is this was a ridiculous thing to claim. Because let's just say the Earth is moving up at, let's just say 1,000 miles an hour, right? Let's just say. Then if you're holding a stone, you're moving up at 1,000 miles an hour. The stone is moving up at 1,000 miles an hour. You leave go of the helium balloon at the stone and the stone at the same time. The helium balloon supposedly, right, now technically the helium balloon shouldn't even rise. It should just stay where it is. If the air is pushing it up at the same rate as the air is being pushed up. But the helium balloon actually rises and keeps going up, and then it expands and breaks when it gets up high enough. So how is that explained? Right? It does. It's not. It's explained in reality, but it's not explained in this nonsense. But the stone goes down. So the stone is not going at 1,000 miles per hour anymore. It's now decelerating. But the problem with that is a deceleration, just going to the right. So a decrease in speed as the body moves away from the starting point, deceleration formula, right, is defined as deceleration, right? Deceleration is the opposite of acceleration, right? So the word acceleration is used to describe motion which changes. It is common to use acceleration to mean speeding up and the word deceleration to mean slowing down, right? I don't think I need to go any further here. Deceleration is a special case of acceleration whereby it only applies to objects slowing down. So that means that if you're claiming, if you're involved in this and you're claiming that the stone is decelerating, right, when you leave it and the helium balloon go, right, then that means that the stone has to be going down, right, because it's not actually going down, remember, it's slowing down, right, it's not going at 1,000 miles per hour anymore, right, because you've left it go. So technically, if you're saying it's decelerating, it's slowing down. So the helium balloon, then under that paradigm, must rise faster than the stone falls, right? Because the stone is decelerating, whereas from 1,000 miles per hour, whereas the helium balloon is still moving at 1,000 miles per hour. So that means the helium balloon, in reality, would have to go up faster than the stone falls down, or appears to go down. But that's not what happens in reality. In reality, the stone falls much faster than the helium balloon goes up, which is and that is the reason why they're seeing what they're seeing in their bottles with the cork or with the air bubble. They're not understanding this, right? I'll bring that in at the end. Right? So this is a ridiculous answer because it means that in reality we'd have to see the stone go you drop on a stone and leaving go of a helium balloon at the exact same time, and the stone takes longer to reach the ground than the helium balloon does to reach the ceiling. It's ridiculous, right? But that's what it would mean. That is the implications of this. So that ends that claim straight away of an Earth moving up at a constant velocity, right? But then we have this other claim from this other camp who are claiming that Earth is moving up at a constant acceleration, right? So what would that mean, right? So acceleration definition, right? Acceleration, rate at which velocity changes with time in terms of both speed and direction. Acceleration is a vector quantity that is defined as the rate at which an object changes its velocity. So acceleration is seen as an increase in speed, right? Now, if you're claiming a constant acceleration, then you would have to be a situation where the Earth is moving up at a constantly increasing speed. That's what it would have to be. Or a constantly increasing, decreasing, whichever way you want to go. The main thing is that if you were to see this stone doesn't have a weight, right? Now, I'm going to get to that in a moment, but this stone doesn't have weight because there is nothing going down, right? And just 1 second, I'm just going to show definition for weight. Right? Weight, a body's relative mass or the quantity of matter contained by it, giving rise to a downward force. The heaviness of a person or thing, downward force, right? So that's weight, right? So this stone here doesn't have any weight, okay? So technically, I don't have any weight. The stone hasn't got any weight. The person claiming this doesn't have any weight. So anything we place onto a weighing scales must weigh the same at that exact moment. And anything we place on a weighing scales today, right, has to show a different reading next week, right? You would think, because that's the implications of it, because the stone that you place on the weighing scales today is being affected by an upward and a constantly accelerating upward moving Earth. but next week it's accelerating at a different rate. So the stone, you would think, would have a different weight on the scales. But no, right? Because the stone would have to have weight, to even register anything on the scales. So all that can ever be registered is whatever the upward moving earth is doing. The stone, whatever the stone is, means nothing. So the stone and me and the person claiming this and a car and everything else must show the exact same reading on a scales right at that exact time, at all times. So the only force is the upward moving earth at an accelerated rate. That's the only force. There is no anything else happen. Weight is not going, nothing is going down. There is no down, that's just apparent. So the only force on the scales, the only pressure is from below. But the problem is if you don't have any weight and the stone doesn't have any weight and the person claiming this doesn't have any weight, then how is there anything to push against? Because the scales needs two things. It needs the weight of a person or object or whatever, a liquid, right, down the way against something that is either moving up or is staying constant. Now we have a situation in reality where we have the ground staying constant, right? It is unmoving, unchanging, solid. So you have a situation where you have on a scales, you are standing on a scales and the scales pushes down, but it's pushing down against something that won't go down. It's solid ground. So you weigh yourself on a stone floor and the scales won't push down because the stone floor won't allow it. It's constant. Whereas, so the only weight you're registering, the only thing so what you're registering on that scales is the amount of pressure your body is putting us downwardly on the scales. That's all you're registering. Now, if someone else stands on the scales who's a different size than you, then like the person claiming this, then they will have a different weight because the only thing that's being registered is their weight, the amount of downward force that their body is impacting on the scales. So you can't have a situation where everyone and everything weighs the same, based off of the only thing that's causing weight would be the acceleration rate of an upward moving earth. Right, things in reality they weigh different. Now, when I brought this subject up with this person, who I am friends with, but I still have to bring up the subject because the truth is the truth, they said, no, something like a stone or me or them will have different inertia, right? But inertia is created by weight, right? You can't have inertia without weight. This is the problem, right? So if I just go to here, okay, inertia definition. So weight definition first again. A body's relative mass, right, or the quantity of matter contained by it, giving rise to a downward force, the heaviness of a person or thing. Okay, inertia, a tendency to do nothing or to remain unchanged, right? Inertia definition physics. Inertia is a passive property that does not enable a body to do anything except oppose such active agents as forces or torques, right? So, right, now, does inertia increase with weight? The greater the weight, or mass, now never mind that because mass is nonsense. That's invoking weight for a couple of different reasons, of an object, right? The greater the weight of an object, the more inertia it has. Heavy objects are harder to move than light ones because they have more inertia. Inertia also makes it harder to stop heavy things moving once they are moving. All things have inertia down here. All things have inertia, but only when they are at rest. Lighter objects have less inertia than heavy objects because inertia is resistance to acceleration. So that's what inertia is, right? Mass is a quantitative, it's claimed to be a quantitative measure. This is post-Einstein. Pre-Einstein, mass was given weight via force of gravity. Post-Einstein, mass is a quantitative measure of inertia, right? So if you take a liquid in chemistry, right, a liquid can be called a mole, right? A mole of a liquid or whatever, right, substance, right? Now that is a quantitative measure of the inertia of that liquid, right? But it's the weight that creates the inertia. So if you take something, let's just say a beach ball and a rock the same size as the beach ball, they're two things exactly, a piece of stone that's it and a beach ball blown up with air in it, that are exactly the same volume, right? If you take a household fan that people use in the summertime, right, and you blow it towards the beach ball will move. You do the same with the rock. The rock's not going to move because it has more inertia, because it has more weight. There's more matter, more density over volume. So there's a perfect example of density over volume. You can't have inertia without weight. So you can claim that the reason that the stone is showing a different weight on the weighing scales than when I stand on it is because I have more inertia than the stone, or the stone has more inertia than me, has not, right, while also claiming the earth is moving up at an accelerated rate that's causing this apparent weight. No, you can't have that at all. Nothing has weight, so nothing can create the force down on the scales. There's only an upward situation happening, and there is no downward. When I stand on the scales, the upward accelerating earth is not registering anything from me because I don't have weight to go against it. Because the scales works both ways. It needs to be pressed from the bottom. It needs to press either onto something at the bottom and press down from the top, or press from the bottom and press up against something above it. But if I have no weight, then there's nothing for it to press against. It can't press against me because I don't have weight. So it's always going to read zero. Technically, that's what it's always going to read. Weighing scales wouldn't even exist because there'd be no reason for them, because we can't weigh anything. This is the problem. So if nothing can be weighed, then how is it reality? Because in reality, things do have weight. We can show weight. We can measure weight. We can stand on the scales. We can weigh things on the scales. We do it all the time. So the claim that because you have more inertia means that you would show more on the scales. No, your inertia is created by weight, right? Inertia is weight. Weight creates inertia. And even bringing mass into it, which is nonsense, is just heliocentric nonsense. The word mass, right? The English word mass, not the Latin word massa. The English word mass invokes not just it always ends up invoking weight, whether it be pre-Einstein or post-Einstein. It invokes weight. So you can't bring mass into it without invoking weight, and you can't bring inertia into it without invoking weight. It's not possible, right? And weight requires two things: a pressure from both sides. But if I don't have any weight, when the earth is pushing up against me at this accelerated rate, I stand on the scales, what's going to happen? Nothing. That's what will happen. There will be nothing happen because there is no weight. So something I have to show, and this is stupid, but I have to show it, right? Some years ago, back in 1969, there was these guys in America who tried to make people believe they were on the moon. And how they did it was they claimed that the moon had 1/6, right, the heliocentric moon, right, had only the 1/6 of the gravitational attraction that the globe Earth has, right? And that means that the astronauts that were claimed to be on the moon were walking around in 1/6 their weight, including all the gear they had on their backs, right? This is the claim. And this is what they show. Now, this is bad footage because it's old, and you can see that the astronauts are actually see-through. It's really bad, right? That's another thing, but that doesn't matter now. But the fact is they're trying to show astronauts moving around as if they're in a situation where they're only 1/6 the weight they are in reality. This is what they're trying to show. Whereas the upward moving Earth, whether it be at a constant velocity or a constant acceleration, is going to have zero weight. So weight does not come into it whatsoever. So it would be worse than this. At least they have 1/6 weight, or claim to have 1/6 weight within this footage. Whereas in reality, within the paradigm that's been claimed with this upward moving Earth, weight doesn't exist at all because there is no downward force. Weight can't exist. There is no weight. There's only an upward situation. Nothing is going down. It's only apparent. So there can't be weight. So if you look at this and remember the upward moving Earth has to be more, the outcome would have to be, I mean, magnitudes even more ridiculous than this. So we're going to show a few seconds because I don't know how NASA will be about this. Right. So as you can see, right, I know it's bad footage, but there's a person jumping around. We don't do that normally. There's another person coming in, and they're moving in a real weird way. Nobody moves around that. And remember, they have a backpack on them and all this. Look, they're jumping around, and that's supposed to be because they have 1/6, only 1/6 the weight they normally have when they're on Earth. right? That's what they're showing. So I would have showed other stuff from the ISS and that, but that's not as relevant because this is showing a physical surface that people are being claimed, and all this footage was really bad. I wonder why. I've seen better. And people are being claimed to be moving around with only 1/6 their body weight, right? So every little jump is a hop. So consequently, if you had a big fan, right, and you blew that fan towards any of these people here, right, within this scenario, what would happen? You'd blow them back, right? Now that same fan will just cool you down in reality because you have weight, but they're claiming to only have 1/6 the weight, so they won't be able to withstand. So a fan, let's say just an industrial fan, to these guys in this crazy scenario here, would be like a hurricane. So if you have no weight, then what's a breeze going to do to you? What will a breeze do? A breeze you'll be blown off up into the sky by a light breeze because you don't have any weight. There's no reason for you to resist acceleration. You don't have weight, so you can't resist acceleration. The resistance of acceleration requires weight. If you don't have weight, you can't resist acceleration. That's the end of that. Now, it's stupid that I have to use Apollo 11 moonwalk footage to show how ridiculous this claim is for people to get their heads screwed on. Like I said months ago, right, that means there is no weight. There is no weight, that is the end of that. There's no point in trying to argue anything else. Weight doesn't exist. So this is the ridiculous outcome of it. I'm sorry. It's a ridiculous claim. I don't know why people are drawn in by this nonsense, why people don't use a little bit of logical thought, why I have to use bloody Apollo 11 moonwalk footage. You know, why do I have to do all this? You know, because people are too busy trying to push some stupid claim they have because of effects that they induce that they don't understand. Why do me or anyone else have to do this? Just use a bit of logical thought. What you're thinking about, the implications, is impossible in reality, in the story. So why, right? Let's just go out of this. Sorry. So in reality, they have this bottle, right, that they drop, right, and it has a cork in it. They turn it upside down, has a cork in it or an air bubble, whatever, and they drop it, right. Now, whatever is causing this, right, it's not an upward moving earth, as I just showed. None of those things can happen, right? Because weight doesn't exist. Density differential effects don't exist. None of those things exist. Density differential effects is two vectors, up and down. You can't have an up and an apparent down. Either you have the differential effects or you don't. And to have them, weight has to exist as well, because density creates weight. You can't have density effects, but density not creating weight. You can't have upward density effects, but apparent density effects downward. You can't have that. So when you're dropping a bottle, we turn a bottle upside down and there's a cork in it, and you drop it, right? And you show it in slow motion. People are seeing several seconds of this bottle falling and the cork not going up, right? But in reality, it's just like half a second, bang, bottle hits the ground. So how long does it take the cork to rise through the water, right? Or the air bubble to rise through the water? And is that in alignment with the rate that the bottle of water drops through the air? Because if it's not, if the bottle of water is dropping through the air faster than the cork is rising through the water, or the air bubble is rising through the water, then that would be the first place I'd be starting with. But the last place I'd end up at, right, would definitely be an upward moving earth, because that is a ridiculous claim that is so easily debunked if the people pushing this would just have a little bit of thought. And mine only, one of them, right, definitely has proven that she can use logic. She's definitely a smart girl. Why do you not see this? You're wrong. I'm sorry. You're all wrong, right? And people like me shouldn't have to do this. Shouldn't have to make videos like this. I don't want to spend half an hour talking on a video about something that a little bit of logical thought would sort out. Right? So I'm not going to go on any further. There's no need to. I think it's pretty obvious that in a situation where weight can't exist, then reality can't exist either. End of story. Stop. Thank you. Thanks for watching.